the senior sales engineer at Netwrix. I've got a short 40 slide, no, just kidding. I know you guys want to get out of here, so I've got a couple slides and I'll jump into a demonstration. I'm going to show you what this product is, what it's about. Real quick overview as far as who we are. We've been around for some time. You guys can kind of take a look at this. To me, the big thing on this slide is our product philosophy. We're very big into creating software that's relatively easy to use, relatively easy to deploy. It's got a very light touch on your infrastructure, also makes it a very safe product. We're a Microsoft Certified Gold partner, and all of our software is written by us, and it's all written in-house. A couple different products. Our main offering is the Netwrix Auditor, and using this, we're really all about change auditing. We're certainly transitioning now into more configuration auditing as well. So we look at auditing pretty seriously for a variety of different platforms, Active Directory, group policy, mostly what I'll focus on for you guys today. We also do things for file servers, Exchange, SQL servers, VMware, pretty much a Microsoft-centric shop, but we do, again, look at VMware and a couple other pieces. We have some identity management portions as well. So, as far as auditing, quick show of hands, who audits their environment here for the most part? Come on, more of you guys have to do that, especially with a heavy security presence here. So, as far as auditing your environment, those who are bold enough to put in your hand, are you guys, who actually is using more of a homegrown system, using PowerShell scripts, using some other mechanisms that you have internal? Is that primarily what you guys are using, or are you using third-party products? No, everyone wants to get out of here. Okay, so we look at a number of different reasons for auditing. So one, obviously security, changes in security settings, unauthorized access, etc. So I personally worked with an admin once who thought, whenever he ran into a problem that couldn't be fixed, a user had a problem, making him the domain admin normally fixed that problem. So they made him the domain admin. And you would constantly go in, this is a relatively small company, maybe 300 users, and it was not uncommon to go in there and see 50 domain admins in there. So, there's some really ridiculous things out there. Certain admins are really lazy, so just another reason to audit. Also troubleshooting and root cause analysis. If everything's working great for the last 6 months, you walk in and all of a sudden the wheels have fallen off you. Why is that? What's changed recently? Usually things don't just explode, for no apparent reason. Obviously, again, delegation, and everyone's favorite reason to audit is because they have to. They fall under some compliance. SOX, PCI, JSOX, all kinds of different ones. So that's some of the main reasons for auditing. So I'll talk very quickly, and I'll kind of skip over this slide more or less, but the way we look at auditing infrastructure, there's really two main ways you can look at auditing, right? The way you can audit information. Usually from event logs, a pretty popular one, a SIEM solution, some sort of event log management mechanism, right? That gives you some pretty good information. But it doesn't necessarily give you the full picture. So the Active Directory group policy is a great one, right? If I make a change in group policy and I look at the logs, what do I see? I see that this user has made a change to this group policy at this date and time. And that's useful information, but it doesn't tell you what they changed, right? So on the sort of other end of the spectrum, we have a much more intrusive technology where you're really required to install some relatively heavy agents on your equipment. And those are pretty effective, that's why a lot of people use them. We go out of our way not to use them, mostly because it's not uncommon for Microsoft to issue a security patch, the vendor to issue an update, etc., and have those agents go offline. And when that happens, best case, you don't collect data. Worst case, we've certainly seen blue screen out controllers, etc. So we do have a number of vendors who were former vendors of other clients that have had problems. So we look at things a slightly different way, that we refer to as audit assurance. And basically what that means is we look at multiple sources of detail that we go out, we pull out through the built-in Windows tools and the built-in Windows APIs. So it's all available, it's nothing weird. And we'll look at things like security logs, that is a valid form of information. But we also supplement a lot of data with things like comparative snapshots of Active Directory. We'll look at the update sequence number on the directory. When that number increments up, we'll drill down into the directory, we'll take a look at what objects have changed to cause that USN to increment up. We kind of collate all that information together to give us, who made the change, what was changed, where, when, before and after values, etc. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of drop this out of the way, and I'm going to bring up the demonstration. So this is the Netwrix Auditor. Most of our products all kind of snap into this piece. So you can look at things as a series of matched objects. And matched objects can be things like domains. So you can see multiple domains in the same place. They can also be things like computer collections. So I can look at different groups of machines with different audit criteria. So again, I'll kind of focus on Active Directory here. This is really a tool designed to be able to report on changes that are taking place. Not only changes, but also current configuration. So with changes, so I look down here, got a kind of a test piece here. And you can see on the left-hand side, this is change tracking. These are sort of all changes here. These are pretty generic. I'll change by date, by object type, originating workstation, all kinds of site changes, schema changes, etc. And on the right-hand side, you can see everything's color-coded. Relatively easy to drill down in, see modifications, removals, additions. Also, whenever there's a change, we give you the details of that change. So whether it's something pretty basic like this user change, where you can see this user here, his office was changed from this value to that value. Not necessarily a huge change, but then you can see down here it's a group change, where the backup operators group was changed, and these two test users were added into that group. So you can look at all the different aspects of Active Directory. Also, as far as this, you can export these out. You can definitely use wildcards. I can look for a certain user. I can look for a certain object. I can even look for changes maybe in a specific organizational unit. So if I only want to see changes in a specific OU to those objects, I can do that. So very easy to wildcard these out. I can also subscribe to some of these as well. I'll show you some of those momentarily. So these are pretty basic for the most part. Excuse me. There's also a lot of others here for more drill down type of changes. So changes to users. So things like users that have been created or deleted, enabled or disabled users. Those of you with compliance, those are reports you generate on a pretty regular basis. And if nothing else, you might want to know how many users you've deleted over the last 6 to 12 months. Also things like administrative password resets. Someone comes up to you and says, hey, I can't seem to get into the network. I always have to have my password reset. I don't know what's going on. I think someone's maliciously resetting my password. Administrative password resets. I can go in, I can look, see who's changing that user's password, if anybody. Also things like groups. Everyone loves looking at group changes, especially administrative group changes. So if I drill over here real quick, you can go in and you can pretty easily see all the different changes to different administrator groups. Now hopefully you don't make quite as many changes on a regular basis, but I can very easily see things like change to account operators, backup operators, enterprise admins, built-in admins, schema admins, etc. I can see who added them in, when they were added, etc. Very easy to generate these out for compliance reporting. Also, again, I can subscribe to these, so I can have them deliver on a schedule. So instead of me having to go in and run these every day, every week, every month, I can go to the subscription piece, set up a subscription, and I can just have them delivered automatically to either myself, my managers, my auditors, and then just let them roll. I can even have it delivered out to other people. So there's obviously one other thing I thought I'd show you real quickly. There's a security piece in here. One of the things I never really liked about Active Directory is the fact that if you delegate authority within the directory, you really don't see that unless you happen to go in and you look at the object, right? If you look at the security on the object or on the OU, but who does that for the most part? And if you do, you might say, well, when did this get changed? Has it always been like that? Beats me. So, where if you go in and you look at the domain admins group, it's pretty easy to see, okay, these people don't belong. So in this case, I can go in and I can look at those types of changes. In this case, the top one here, I've got, this organizational unit for users. Security is added for this admin password reset group for, read password last set, write password last set, etc. So pretty easy to drill into those type of things. I won't show you all these reports because I don't want you to riot on me, but domains and trusts, organizational units, again, if you create an organizational unit and for a project you add a bunch of objects in there, you have to put that aside for whatever reason. You come back to it 5 months later, that's gone. What happened to it, kind of restore it, etc. So very easy to kind of drill into those types of things, change to DCs, computer objects, etc. There is also a change management report here, which is kind of cool. Allows you to kind of go in and, especially for smaller organizations that might not have a change control system on their own, allows you to kind of go through and kind of addend our database with changes that are searchable. So for example, I go in here and I've removed this subnet, for example. So if I go down here, click update status, it's in review, it's resolved, say, hey, this site is closed. Maybe it's, per ticket number or per Bob. Super specific there. Obviously you want to get probably a little more specific, but again, it allows you to kind of go through here There it is. And I can also search on the reason as well. So I can search on that ticket number or whatever to go back. It's also one for group policy. We have made changes to group policy and had to reverse them 12 or 18 months later. And you mostly remember what it does. But you're pretty sure that when you reverse it, there's something else that you forgot that's going to get broken. So again, it allows you to kind of attend these types of changes. Besides just changes, we can look at things like current status. So AD state and time reports, things like locked accounts, accounts whose passwords had ever expired, last logged on information, computer information, groups. So this is one I used to kind of wish I had actually, but for SOX compliance, if I want to go in here, I throw an admin here with wildcards, and there we go. I can go through and I can pull up all the current membership of all these different groups. So whether it be domain admins, enterprise admins, etc. The cool thing about this is because we use a running snapshot, we, kind of throughout the day, we store a single snapshot for every day. So let's say, for example, I can say, hey, this is kind of crazy, but I preloaded an older snapshot. So let's say I want to see the same information, but from December 1st of last year. In this case, you can see a lot different groups, so much more sparse. So very easy for me to run a snapshot today, snapshot from say last month or the beginning of the quarter. I can run a changes report over that same time frame, and those things should all net out. So a lot of things for compliance. And if you deal with compliance, I don't think there's a compliance I'm aware of that doesn't look very, very heavily at group memberships. So that's always a kind of a critical one. There's also kind of an overview report in here as well. And an overview report's kind of cool. It allows you to kind of go through and see a very quick overview visually what's going on. So it's changed by object, by user, etc. So if you see something that's not quite right, like for example, I got a whole pile of changes here by the administrator, you kind of drill into that. And I can go through and I can look at all those changes that were made by the domain administrator. So again, it's really designed to make your life a little bit easier in that case. There is an alerting mechanism as well. I can generate alerts based on things like admin group changes. So again, everyone loves changes to admin groups, but also things like domain configuration changes, sites and services, domains and trusts, those types of things. Changes made by the domain administrator. So there's a bunch that are kind of out of the box. You can also create your own. You can modify the existing ones. So it's very flexible in that case. Beyond being able to kind of run these right from here, I can again kind of export them. I can email them. I can automatically subscribe them and email them. I can also, especially if you're auditors, for example, I can give them access to the web interface, and they just kind of drill in and they can do their own thing. So if you do have auditing issues, you're probably aware that having the auditor stand over your shoulder is really not your best way to go. So the more information you can give them to just kind of let them go off and do their own thing and come back to you with questions, the easier it'll make your life. So again, a number of different ways to be able to kind of get to this data. There is also a restore mechanism here as well. And so what this allows you to do is, again, using the snapshots that we take, we're able to compare two snapshots in time. So by default, I'll look at yesterday and I'll look at the present date and time. I can also look at changes made from last week, last month, etc. And what it will do is give me a bunch of changes I can roll back. Now, this tool works whether you use 2003, 2008, 2008R2, mixed mode, 2012, whatever, it doesn't matter. So obviously in 2003, you don't really have much of an option to roll object changes back. Those tombstones are kind of valueless. So here you can roll back changes like phone number changes. So a single phone number, for example, if I click on this and click next, it'll roll this current value back to this value. Now a single phone number really isn't that impressive for the most part, but let's say I go in and I overwrite all the direct dials on a whole series of users in an OU. Now in this case it's 5 users, again it's annoying, but let's say it's 50 or 100 or more. That's a little bit more painful. So in this case, I can go back, I can again restore all of them, I can just restore one or two, gives me a couple options, and of course I can also restore the objects as well that have been removed. In this case, I removed an entire OU, got some other users, etc. It recreates the users with the same secure identifiers, there are profiles and explicit permissions on file shares. Same attributes, same group memberships, and by attributes also exchange attributes if you're using Exchange. So if you deleted John Smith and you really meant to delete Jane Smith but you weren't paying attention, If you go back and you restore that person, as long as their mailbox has not been purged out, it'll just stick it right back on. So it's kind of a handy tool. Hopefully you never need to use this, frankly, but we have had a number of clients that have. Scripts gone awry. I had a client about 3 months ago, did a quick script to clean up the directory. It was a little too effective, purged out 1,500 valid accounts, ran it over the weekend. Monday morning was not a good start to the week for those guys. Able to roll those all back. So, again, hopefully you never need to use this, but it's pretty handy. Also had people go in and delete a single OU that had all 400 of the users, that type of stuff. So, yeah, definitely a lot of use cases for that. I'll show you very quickly as well group policy. Again, some similar reports. So if I go into all changes here, on this, right here real quick. And again, I talked about group policy and what you see if you look in the logs. If you look in the logs, you'll see, hey, this person made a change to this policy in this date and time. And actually, if you look at the logs, it doesn't give you the proper name, it just gives you the GUID. So you kind of have to go look it up yourself. So in this case, we give you a whole bunch of additional information, all of the specific changes. So, whether it's something basic like, the account lockout duration was changed from 45 minutes to 60. We've got a bunch of different audit policy changes. We look at change to the GPOs, also to the scope of the GPOs, I mean, as a group. Links or unlinks to GPO to a container. Change to WMI filters, all those types of good stuff. Also, we can go out there and, again, let's say I go in here and I look at the account lockout duration and say, hey, it's changed from 45 minutes to 60, but funny thing about that is I originally set this up for 55. When the heck did that happen? So again, very easy to kind of drill into these types of more detailed reports and look at a very large range of changes to find out when these things were made, who made them, right? So a lot of different stuff, again, GPO links, security, all kinds of different types of changes. This product also has subscriptions as well, but these state and time assessment reports, these kind of snapshots in time. So if I want to go through and I want to look at all the group policies and their settings, I can. I can also go through, I can look at a specific policy, or maybe I want to look at just the security settings on all of my policies. Pretty cool. There's also one in here that I particularly find kind of cool. There's one in here for duplicate settings. So ever go in there and set a policy for something and then find out it's got some other random value. So in this case, you can see, hopefully you don't have quite so much duplication, but you might. So the top 4 policies there all have the same account lockout duration. In fact, 3 of them are completely different values. So it gives you some pretty neat capabilities to kind of go in here. If I want to look at this test group policy here, for example, I can see what it's applied to and whether or not that link is enabled. A bunch of other different modules here again, as well as for Exchange. We can look at non-owner mailboxes, file servers, changes, SQL. There's a video component now as well where we can actually record user sessions on servers. So you can use that for a variety of things. Everyone always wants to use to spy on people. You can. Really designed more for servers. You can certainly use it on workstations. You can use for spying on people. You can use it for passive security. I've had a lot of clients say, hey, I set this up on a server that I brought up brand new, and I found I had all my admins piled on, and I had exactly 14 seconds worth of video footage for all of them. Because they logged in, they start poking around. As soon as the message pops up, they clicked OK and they logged off. So again, obviously you do different things when you're being recorded. So a lot of different options, and you can actually turn that feature off. So I've also seen it used for things like troubleshooting. Somebody has a custom application. One user kept crashing it every day, but only about once a day. They turn on the video, you can do it by user, by application. And it turned out that it was basically order operations she was taking that was causing the thing to crash out. So once they retrained her, and I think before I get the hook, I will swing back. I'll bring these up. I'm not going to spend really any kind of time on these, but this is the obligatory slide of some of our vendors or some of our clients. If you do want to try out the software, this is a 20-day free eval. Feel free to go out to our website and download it. We also have a bunch of free tools as well. But you can go out, it's 20-day free eval, support's included as well. If you're having problems with it, give us a call. We're not going to turn you away just because you haven't purchased the product. There's also a virtual test drive as well. You can kind of go out, play around with it, see how it is without going through and doing a full POC. Any questions?
Is it, okay, So it's a real quick one. What's the size of organization that the product is aimed for? Or are there different versions?
It's the same version, honestly. It's relatively scalable. We've got clients with over 100,000 users, so certainly in the 600 users, we've got people who, have 12 users, to be quite frank. Really, to me, works very well in, between maybe 500 to maybe 20,000, 30,000 users. So it's very, very well there. I think obviously in much larger organizations, there's always a little bit where you need to double check. But again, we've got some very large organizations where it works right out of the box. So some organizations just have a tendency to break things, unfortunately, but based on their size and complexity. Sorry, go ahead.
Just a couple of questions. So one of the things we like to audit is to check and see whether or not a specific user credential has been used across multiple systems.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's a very clear indication of a compromise.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if there's a specific report that you don't have that we're interested in running, either as a report or as an alert, actually.
Okay.
A lot of these are more alert.
Sure.
Whether that's something we could code,
We do have a mechanism that goes out and pulls out log-on data, for example, and it would be very easy for you to use, plug in a user ID and then pull up all the machine accounts that it's logged into. It's not really designed as an alert mechanism at this point. It's really more as an alerting mechanism. But, again, we basically use SQL as a backend. So any mechanism you want to use to pull that data out, you can. One of the things we're kind of looking at is maybe adding in a much more advanced business intelligence front end in the very near future. So there's a number of different things that you should be able to do. We do pull that kind of data, but we don't have quite that functionality we're looking for. Again, I can tell you what systems a particular user is logged into in the last day or the last week, but not really much of a learning capability with that piece at this point now.
Okay. Did I see on one of your first slides something about SIM integration?
Yeah, we do SIEM integration, so a couple of different ways. One of which is a couple of our products export out the logs. We do on the Netwrix server itself, we export our log data. We can also export them out from our database directly. We have a Ceph connector, so common event format. So a lot of people buy these extremely expensive SIEMs and SIEM solutions, and then they realize they're just not getting the data that they want. So this, especially when you're looking at something like, some of the HP products and stuff like that, this is extremely low cost to be able to kind of plug that in and be able to get a whole slew of additional information that you just can't get from log data.
So low cost, is this price per user? How does this work?
So that's actually a question. So for the products I've shown you, it is price per user. It's price per enabled AD object. Correct.
Because we've got thousands that are disabled.
We don't care about those. We don't care about machine objects. We don't care. So if you had 12 users and 10,000 machines, you'd obviously be making out well. But so for most of those products, Exchange, Group Policy, Active Directory, they're priced by enabled user object. Now some of the server products are priced per server. You can also buy them as a suite, in which case they basically sell to you by user, and they basically kind of give you a pool of licenses that you can kind of move around for your server licenses. So, does that answer your question? Anybody else? That's just that effective. Awesome.
Thank you very much.